Yet again this week it's been C squared, China and COVID. The Chinese Communist Party celebrated its centenary and Xi Jinping delivered a speech that only the most supine appeasers could have construed as anything but provocative and ominous. Chiming in on cue, Russian President Vladimir Putin declared that the US is now in decline and that the era of US hegemony is over. Meanwhile, back home, millions of Australians tried to decipher exactly what we were all supposed to do about lockdowns and vaccinations, while our leaders squabbled. Several state leaders even pushed for hardline border closures to reduce the cap on arrivals.
My view is that it is better to lock some people out than to lock everyone down.
I've written to reduce our caps by 50%.
No, it certainly needs to be more than 50% in my judgment. Well, I've spoken about 75, 80%.
I support what Queensland's asking for. I get why Queensland's asking for it. We're living with why Queensland's asking for it.
This is the biggest threat vector to Australia, and it needs to be cracked down on now.
Now, as I've said at intervals over the past year, I believe Prime Minister Scott Morrison blundered in allowing government by Zoom conference to replace the written text and structure of our Constitution. This week it all came back to bite him. He may look back on this week as the beginning of the end of his government's tenure. State premiers have behaved with impunity and, underwritten by your taxes, have trampled all over the Constitution through arbitrary border closures, while failing to implement basic safeguards at their own hospitals and quarantine hotels. Two of the worst offenders in Queensland and Western Australia have, of course, been resoundingly re-elected. With no one left to blame now except Scott Morrison, he's firmly in the crosshairs as public frustration over the entire COVID mess mounts. At least it's mildly amusing to hear Labor lobbies like Dan Andrews demanding fewer people coming into Australia. To see the left demanding tougher external borders is actually exquisite in its irony.